Hello my friends, this is Nellie with Happy Cloud Art Studio. One of my customers saw this willow tree design and said, wow, I love the amount of details you put in the canopy of that tree, which made me think, I really didn't put that much detail, but it looks like I did. So today I'm going to show you how I created this beautiful look with minimal effort. So I have this quick sketch of the tree. That's what we're going to be using today for this example. So don't pay attention to all these messy details. It's not finished, just for you to see where we are. To create this canopy, I use this absolutely fabulous fan brush. This is Bob Ross Fan Blender number 3. It has natural bristles, not synthetic, which that's what we usually use for acrylics, but I prefer to use natural bristles for this technique because it gives me more irregular pattern, more messy pattern, and more interesting for that reason. We are using Hauser dark green. So let's load the brush and then we offload, because when there's too much paint, it's going to create a glubby, not so pretty brush stroke. We load, we offload a little bit, and with that, let's go to our surface and we're going to put our brush at 90-degree angle. Let me do this for you so that you can see the 90-degree angle. Okay, and just a very little touch. Let's look at it. Okay, that's an interesting smudge. Let's keep tapping. Now, that is a little too heavy on paint. Let's offload it a little bit more. I tap it into my palette on purpose, spreading the bristles, making them a little more messy. Let's go again. 90-degree angle, let's tap. Okay, now that's better. Do you see what happened here? Very light texture, almost see-through. So it creates an illusion, an indication of leaves without painting each individual little leaf. So let's continue. Load the paint, offload a little bit, 90-degree, and we do tap, tap, tap. The harder I push the brush into the canvas, the glubbier, the bigger the brush stroke is going to be. I don't need that. Okay, so just the very tips of the brush are touching the canvas. Tap, tap, tap. There we go. Now I'm just showing you the mark the brush makes. That's why I love this fan brush, because it's messy. It makes this beautiful natural look. What I did here right now is what I'm asking you not to do. I placed them so evenly, right? That doesn't happen in nature. So we're going to go ahead and fix that. More paint. I like to put more greenery, more dense greenery in the top. Something like that. I'm going to fill in this whole top with more dense greenery. I'm still not pushing the brush very hard into the surface. I just keep jumping and dancing. I'm holding the brush perpendicular, right? So the bristles are perpendicular to the horizon. So don't turn it sideways, because that's simply not going to create the effect that we're looking for. We're trying to create those long, skinny branches that are hanging off from the willow tree. So for that reason, we're going to keep it up and down, not sideways, not on an angle. If you do it on an angle, then you will have to create the whole tree on an angle, as if maybe the wind is blowing those branches. That's not the look I'm going for today. So, and as I'm going lower, I'm going to be more careful with where I'm placing the smudges and where I'm leaving the gaps. So intentionally, I left the gap right here because I want to create that natural, irregular look. Let me turn it this way so you can see better how I'm tapping here. I don't want to lose all the background color. I want to have some of that beautiful sky showing through. So I'm trying to not overdo it. On the very top, it is okay. It can be more filled, but towards the bottom, I want them to be strategically placed, nicely defined, little branches. Like that. Isn't that magical? Now, for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm not going to finish the whole tree. I'm just going to show you how I created, the rest of the details. Now, look, this took me, what, maybe 5 minutes of time to create. So the whole tree will maybe take me 10 minutes, but I want to show you how to add some more detail to it. So this is my very first color. This is the darkest shade of green that I'm going to be using for this tree. Now we of course need to add some highlights. I'm going to be using the same brush. I'm going to clean it off, actually just wipe it on the paper towel and not wash it. With this brush that has barely any green color in it, let's squeeze it out, but I'm not going to wash it. I'm going into this lighter green. This one is Apple Tart. So, and doing the same thing, loading some paint, tapping it off, spreading the bristles, making them really messy, and let's go with this paint on our green. Now, some of my green is still wet, and that's cool because that's going to blend with my new color and create another shade of green, which is beautiful. More paint. This color, I'm not going to cover all of the dark green. I want to preserve that to show that definition and depth, but I'm going right over some of the parts. The light green is going to be mostly towards the middle and bottom of the branches. I don't want to put too many highlights in the top because that part of the canopy is quite dense and the light is not getting there. So we don't want to put too much light in there. Look at that. Already so much depth and definition and just so beautiful. Now I'm going to let it dry for a little bit, and for the next layer I'm going to add a touch of yellow into my apple green to bring even brighter highlight. Well, I don't have enough patience to wait for it to dry, so I'm going to go with my yellow color right on top of what I have here. Let's do it. Same brush. I didn't really wash it, I just wiped it on the paper towel. Natural bristles don't really like water. They lose their stiffness, and we do need that stiffness for this. So I prefer not to wash them until the end. Okay, let's touch this highlight to some parts of the tree. Again, mostly towards the bottom part of the branches, because these are the ones that are going, that's the ones the sun is touching, they're catching the light. So I'm not going to place that bright yellow into the tops of the tree. Cool. We are at about 8 minutes at this point, and our tree is almost done. Now, if you want to take it one step further, this is where you can add just a few fine details, just a few, and that alone will create an illusion that you spent so much time working on it. So for this one, for the final step, I'm going to use a liner brush, and I'm going to create just a few. If you look at this design, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more pronounced branches with leaves, 6. Okay, just a few, but that gives an illusion that the entire tree is very detailed. Notice how these defined leaves are against the background. I didn't do that anywhere in the canopy up here. They're only against the background, which makes them stand out even more. So I'm going to grab my liner brush. Let's start with just making the branches. And that's going to be my dark green, watered down paint. And let's just put a couple of little strings like that. Okay. Now with the same brush, same paint, but now I'm going to be using just the very tip. And I'm going to touch it gently. Hold on, there's something. There we go. I'm going to be touching it gently. I'm going to actually turn it around because it's easier for my hand to do it upside down. So just touch, 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 touch. You can do it with a detail brush. I'm just, whatever I have on hand right now, I'm going to show you with that. Okay, so see that? That gives an illusion that there is more details, that I spent more time on this project. I could probably use a smaller brush for this too, or just let's use a very, very tip of the brush. Okay, that's my dark background color for these leaves. And guess what's next? Of course, I need to put a highlight on top of it. So I can go into my light green or maybe even yellow. So let's do some light green first, or maybe even all three colors. Because these branches are really the ones that are catching the sunlight. So I do want to put some brighter colors on them. Some paint is wet and it's blending and it's totally cool. And I don't even need to follow exactly all the leaves. Those highlights can go in between. Some of them are covering, some are just in between the other dark green leaves. Perfect. Let's add some yellow highlights. Just because we can. Because it's my painting and I can do whatever I want. All right. And just like that, now we are about 10 minutes into painting the canopy of this tree, and look how gorgeous it is. I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial, and if you would like to paint designs like this, you can join my online painting membership, Happy Cloud Creative Circle, and I'll make sure to add the link below this video. Thank you for watching and happy painting!